But hey, would you believe that the research actually shows that there's some good news out there? So for all of you who think we've lost the war and there's a lot of doom and gloom, it was interesting to see he's got a table and a chart from the 80s to 2014 that shows the use of pornography among two particular groups. And so it was a research on the percentage of men who viewed an X-rated film. And on the one hand, you've got the everyday American men, and on the other hand, you have Protestant men who believe the Bible is the Word of God. So it's a subgroup of Christians who are willing to say, I believe that the Bible is the authoritative Word of God. Now, the good news from that table was it actually shows that those men have resisted the impact of the internet on their increased pornography use. He says, unlike those who simply affiliate with a fundamentalist or an evangelical denomination, conservative Protestant men for whom their faith is more meaningful and authoritative seem to be resisting the growing trend among American men to view porn, even in the midst of the internet revolution. Now that's some good news. So even with the internet coming in, those who are taking their faith more seriously seem to have shown some resistance in terms of the statistics. That's good news. Hey, that's great. But one of the things that he points out is those of us who are in the space of talking about pornography, we tend to be a little bit pessimistic. And so we even see a chart like that and we begin to doubt it. We are skeptical of research that doesn't indicate that this is an epidemic. Now, really, that's an issue of something called sensationalism. That is, being sensationalist about a topic. And, we see our politicians do this all the time. So whatever their thing is that they want to get a law passed about, they say it is an epidemic. It's a global epidemic. And so they use that type of terminology. And so every issue isn't just a problem that we should address. Rather, they be sensational about it and they say, this is the biggest issue. If we don't do something, we're all going to die. And I have tried to resist the temptation to talk about pornography in those sensationalist terms. I know in the past, I definitely was. So have some fun on my channel. Go back to some of my earlier videos and see if I was a little bit more sensationalist. I think pornography is an issue, and that's one of the reasons I have this channel. But I don't want to say this is the biggest issue and this is the only issue. If you do that, people tend to kind of tune you out if you're constantly saying the sky is falling and this is the worst thing ever. I want to talk about it in a way that is accurate, in a way that talks about the data. And so he points out that in Covenant Eye's research project with Barna, where they did the porn phenomenon, some of the statistics in there weren't as bad as most of us were expecting. And he said there was a sense of resistance from the Christian leaders that they would try to make excuses for why that possibly could be, instead of seeing that it was actually some good news. So in a lot of ways, the church has shifted from optimism that we had in the 70s or 80s, that we could win the war against pornography, and now a little bit pessimistic, that it is inevitable. It is simply something that we can't do much about. The link to this book, if you want to check it out, is in the description. Highly recommended. There's some awesome research in there. Well, this is Jason for Soulfire. Here on this channel, we want to offer gospel hope for a porn-filled world. I will catch you in the next one.